All right, welcome everybody. We got the energy high here. David and I are ready to dive into this idea of helping buyers find you in this ChatGPT world. I came across David actually through a friend of a friend on LinkedIn. I was looking for thought leaders in this new AI world, and I got to admit, his content is on fire. He's got a real kind of focus in this ChatGPT world and the death of SEO. And so I thought I got to get David onto this session. So David, thanks for joining, and how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Awesome. Well, I want to dive into this topic. You got so much to say. You're an energetic kind of guy, but take a pause. Tell us a little bit about some of the things you've been doing the last little bit and the cause you've taken up for your kind of company here.
Okay, cool. So I've been doing B2B technology marketing for about 30 years, and I've been involved with demand gen primarily. And as my career has, advanced, I see more things: PR, positioning, website, all sorts of stuff. Right? Okay, great. So the world has changed a lot. Slowly, incrementally. Sometimes we forget how much it has changed. Yeah. And I spent, since the end of last year, essentially kind of like learning and understanding more about AI and discoverability of brands through AI. Because I think this is a very, very big shift that's sneaking up on us, if you will, because not everyone is doing everything all the time with AI, but more and more they are. So I spent a lot of time looking at how can I help my clients be more visible in AI queries. Yeah. That's the focus. So, yeah.
I love it. Love it. So that's at a high level. And I think your research has started to pay off because, man, a lot of us do not know this world and what's going on. So I'm hoping I can steal some of your secrets today. So sure. Let's dive in. You're helping B2B companies get discovered by AI tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, et cetera.
That's right.
Why is that visibility so critical for buyer enablement today? Give us kind of the why behind this.
Okay, so that's great. And you mentioned the word buyer enablement. And that's kind of been where I've been at since COVID. Right? Since we stopped going to trade shows, at least for a while, since people stopped answering the phones, since people stopped taking emails, and now, if you're folks familiar with this book, which is a great book, right? No forms, no spam, no cold calls, from Latin Economist over at 6 Cents, I would add another line. Oops, get it on here. No websites. They're not coming to your website anymore. Well, that makes it really difficult to tell our story, doesn't it? I mean, they're not listening to us. They're not reading us. They're not coming to us to look at our story. How the hell are they ever going to learn about us? Well, little by little, they're spending more time with ChatGPT and Claude and various tools. The way I see it is this. The internet...
You think websites are dead here soon, basically?
No. What I was going to say is this. The internet is an information source. And AI is the new user interface to find information. So our websites are an information source, vital, right? And when people get to a certain point, they are going to come and visit our website. Yeah. They will need to do that. But there's more and more information that they can find without necessarily having to reveal themselves on our websites. And we've known that they hide behind VPNs and cookieless browsers and all sorts of things, and they don't say, yes, drop cookies on my browser anymore. I mean, does anyone do that? Nobody does that. I don't know. Maybe someone does that. So they don't want to reveal themselves to us until they're ready, because they know how to find us when they want to find us. Yeah. So I know that I've got to get my information into the hands of my buyers. And where are they spending more time? They're spending more time with AI tools. And what's really curious about AI tools, makes it very different from good old-fashioned SEO, is SEO would give me a list of pages wherein I could go and find the bits and pieces of information, chunks, we might call them chunks of information, that I would compile and bring things together and kind of gestalt my answer to my question.
Sure.
That's kind of painful. Whereas AI kind of does all that for me. It goes in and takes a look at the things and it pulls out the chunks and just gives me the answer. So buyers are really quite happy to be disintermediated from the websites. I just get the answer, man. That's what I want, right? So on the one hand, we're struggling as businesses saying we're not getting the web traffic that we used to. On the other hand, users like us, wearing another hat, are quite happy not to have to go to all these websites because we're just getting the answer. So to me, our websites, our owned websites, our third-party websites are information resource. AI is the new user interface, user experience to get information. And so if you took all that information that you gave to your sales reps and you stuck it on your website and you made it easy to find and freely available, one might go so far as to say it's now buyer enablement. Yeah. Because buyers can find it themselves and they can have confidence by finding the information that our vendor, our brand, is a good fit for their situation. And in buyer enablement, I talk about 4 buyer questions that all buyers have. So the first question is, am I looking at the right category of solutions to address my situation at my company right now? Right? There's 15,000 MarTech solutions out there. and they all promise me more leads at lower cost. So there's got to be a few categories. Am I even looking at the right category?
Okay.
That's a really valid question. Second question is, within this category, am I looking at a kind of business that would be the right kind of business for me to do business with? So I'm a small business. I may not want to do business with some of the largest enterprise players because I realize I'll be kind of small in their world. I will not be able to get into the customer service tiers that I would wish for.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
Right? Okay, so you're a credit union, you're not Bank of America. You might choose a different type of cybersecurity solution because it works better for your company within the category, for example.
Yep.
Third question, and this is the big one, which is where a lot of buyer enablement is designed to help. Would we be successful implementing this solution at our company with our people, our workflows, our systems, and our tech stack, right? I want to be successful. I want to make sure that this thing is going to fit our world and our way. Yeah. Because look, there's a lot of good things out there, and I may not be able to handle them all because of various integrations that I might require or processes that I'm involved with or existing relationships and stuff like that. All right. So I need to feel confident of my success, even though I haven't even contacted you yet, so that I feel confident enough that, you're kind of a fit and I think I could do this. I mean, there's more details for me to figure out, but sure, it looks like I could do that type of stuff. So the more you can demystify what it's like to be operationalizing this solution that you have, so that the buyer, without having to do a proof of concept, which costs time and money, energy, and political capital to do a POC, right? They can say, I think this could be a good fit. Leads to fourth question. The fourth question is the money question. Of course, it all comes down to money in the end. Is going to be, is it worth it? Will we be successful getting a measurable economic benefit out of all of this, after the cost of upheaval, whatever that might be, the cost of purchase, the cost of training, perhaps, the cost of trying to jimmy this thing into the steps that's before it and after it, right? Will we see an economic benefit? How do I measure that benefit so I'll know that I can see it? Is it something I'm going to get quickly or slowly? Infrastructure projects are going to be longer payback. Some other things might be shorter payback. So I want to feel confident that it's going to be a thing that's going to pay off, right? Okay, so now where is AI in all of this stuff, David? Because we're supposed to be talking about AI. So I've come up with another way of saying, here's how to make it maybe stick better. Reverse engineer an RFP for your solution. Yeah. Spend some time with ChatGPT or any of your favorite tools and flesh out the mother of all RFPs. Okay? As if you were going to get this RFP to answer.
I like it. Okay.
All right? Imagine your type of buyer persona in your kind of ICP environment. What are the questions they're likely to ask? And by the way, you've probably seen some of these questions before, so they're not all going to be brand new for you, right? That's the whole point. But there might be a few things that ChatGPT kind of shines some light on. So, oh yeah, that's a good one. I forgot that. Yeah. Right, good. Yeah. Okay. And then take that RFP and give it to one of your AI tools. And you may need to break it up into pieces because you can't give the whole damn thing to say, help answer this. Because there are context windows to deal with and tokens and stuff like that. And you go and you say, please, can you answer this RFP based on the information on my website? And if it can't, there's two reasons. One, the information isn't present on the website to provide an answer to the question. Or two, it is present, but it's in a format that the AI isn't able to kind of, let's use the term grok. Right? The term grok is just natively understand, right? If the information is formatted in a way that the AI bots and crawlers cannot parse and read, and some of that kind of information could be because it's in a carousel, because the information is hidden behind an accordion, because the information is inside of a tab, because
so yeah, right? Click on that for a second. So what? Because that's such great framing. I love the RFP and then just your website answer. Wow, great idea. But one more click on where you were just going there. Like, what separates companies that show up in AI responses from those that are not? Is it some of the stuff you're talking about? We're putting too much in video or something, or give me some tips there.
My core belief, right, is if the information isn't on our website to start with, it's going to be an information gap somewhere along the line. Now, it can also exist on third-party websites, and that's very important too. So let's not forget that, because that's a really important part of the overall equation. Yeah. But the real goal is, the real thing that's going on is, at a very high level, buyers have questions. AI is disintermediating our websites from the answer. I'm getting the answer from the AI. The AI is curating information. It's choosing, which is really weird, because when it was SEO, I chose. I went to the blue link. I grabbed a little bit and piece here or there and made my answer, right? And it was painful, and I didn't think I found everything, and I always left wondering, did I find it? Was this it all, or is there more that I should find? That's always on our minds, right? And it still exists, right? And all that's going on is AI is kind of disintermediating us, it's separating us. So I want to make sure, and this is what AI enablement is all the information that I would wish my customers to be able to access through their interactions with AI is present and available for AI. It's that simple an idea. And then it gets complicated, not really complicated, but then you start to go, okay, well, let's go to my website and audit it. I'm going to audit now to get into the technical things. Okay, so I'm going to rattle off a whole bunch of ideas first because I can run out of time and I just want to get them in there. I want to get my H1, H2, H3s semantically correct based on information hierarchy and not based on how they look. I want to make sure that my chunkability of information, because this is a key idea, and we need to, if you don't know what chunkability or chunks are, it's a core thing to really go look for and understand. Information chunks are the basis of what we do with GEO, Generative Engine Optimization. Think of it this way. SEO leads you to a page. Cool, we got that. Okay, that's pretty self-evident, David. And GEO is finding information chunks, which is little pieces of information on a page, grabbing those, putting those chunks into competition against each other, choosing the best chunks and the ones that are most easily corroborated across the most sources for the winning chunks, or those chunks. So what we're doing is we're at a finer level of granularity. AI is helping us find ideas. And SEO is helping us find web pages that we might find interesting ideas on. And so we're trying to compete on the idea level now. And the idea needs to align to the query intent that the AI has received. And another big difference, which is really critical and impacts measurability, is when I ask a question in an AI, I might upload a page of detail. My context, my situation, my this, my that, pretty personal to my world, right? All these details, because the window's bigger, and I can iterate back and forth and refine, which is pretty cool. And so my query about the exact same topic and your query will be getting us potentially different answers because my context is different. And your context is your context, and that's great. So why does that? I'll mention this now quickly because there's a lot of geo measurement tools that are hitting the market, and they're all trying to shine light on this abstraction layer that we're trying to figure out. How do we figure out this abstraction layer so that we can choose to do things? And to me, it looks a lot like attribution software. It's trying to do attribution. And so we all have a love-hate relationship with attribution software for regular demand gen and B2B kind of stuff.
I
right?
certainly do. Yes,
Certainly, right? Love-hate. We want it. We would wish for it. We realize it's incomplete. We recognize that it's only measuring certain things that are in the digital domain. It doesn't measure anything outside of that, and those things are important too. Okay. And a lot of the tools that are being created to measure geo stuff, I call it geo attribution, which might be mixing up two dirty words into one phrase, but they suffer from the same problem. They are kind of trying to shine a light on this thing, but it's abstracted to a level that they can't really help us, I believe. And so I would suggest what's important, just like with good marketing, regardless of what the attribution would tell you, you kind of know what's working. And with that same idea, I would say if the information is on our websites and formatted in a way that is assimilable, let's use that term, right? That's our goal. And all the measurement stuff is trying to shine light on it, and it may not be very good. And some of it is also coming from SEO vendors who don't want to basically say SEO is no longer important. And SEO, by the way, is still very important. It's just you cannot succeed at geo with SEO alone. It's a key area. It's important. But the things that the demand gen team does, the PR team does, the partner team does, the content team does, the branding team does, the web design team does, right? All those other people who do these other jobs completely, what's the word I should use here? Screw up your good SEO results as far as geo is concerned.
Is that right?
So
what would you say to people who, I love you hit a couple of these things, but man, so many people they don't even know where to start. They're seeing so much on LinkedIn, SEO, geo. Is there before we get to resources, because I'm sure you have some of those, but is there 3 steps that you would say, Gabe, if you're a beginner and you're trying to kind of get yourself showing up in these types of AI responses or AI search or whatever, I'd probably do these 3 things. Where would you go? You go to the H1, H2 organ?
Well, first I'd start to learn what are some of the mechanics of how AIs choose answers. Because once you understand how those answers are chosen, you can see the bigger picture of why all these different people in the marketing department. AIs don't care about our org charts, right?
Sure.
They don't give a damn about our org charts. So if they get information from everywhere, so everywhere can have an impact. So I want to understand, well, how does my partnering team have an impact? How does my content team have an impact? How does my brand design, my brand architecture have an impact? I'd like to understand those things, because once I understand those things, like, oh, okay, now I know. I don't have to be rowing against the tide. I can row with the tide.
Got it.
Right?
So first step is kind of learn.
Learn.
So, okay,
Learn a little.
where do you go next?
Then step number 2, audit. Take a look at your website from all of your different perspectives. All the different teams have their aspects that they should be auditing now that they understand their impact on it, right? It's not one person who owns the website audit. That would not work, because the demand gen person doesn't really know how to do, I mean, in all fairness, they might, but it's not their responsibility to do brand architecture.
Yeah.
Okay, right? So you might want to say, okay, well, here's what we might want to do. So audit what is today, and then discover within the things you discover, well, what are the low-hanging fruit that we can fix in a short term, and then progressively as we go. The bigger the website that you have, obviously the more work potentially that you have, and the more benefit you can get potentially. But there are some things you want to fix up first, right? You may want to start with that, auditing your homepage. And then the third thing is then actually fixing. All right, what is the gap that I need to fix on the information level, i.e. my RFP, my imaginary mother of all RFPs? That information is not present. And then technically, okay, I'll just rattle off a bunch of things. So I want to do the H1, H2, H3. I want to make sure that I'm not blocking any bots in robot text. It could still be, though very doubtful. Remember back a couple of years ago when AIs were first appearing, people were like, oh no, shoot, I don't want these people crawling my website and stealing clicks. I'm going to block them. And the person who made that decision may no longer be there, and you may not realize it. And it may still be sitting in the robot's text, right? So just check that. If you're using something like Cloudflare, you may want to check that you have got allow listed the various bots that you would like to have visit your website. Now, Cloudflare has in June just released, is it June? July, excuse me, a service where they are sticking themselves in the middle and implementing a pay-to-crawl model that some of their largest customers, I mean, they've got 20% of the world's internet traffic running through their servers, so they're able to make this maybe stick, right? So that's something to investigate to see if somehow your site, because of a Cloudflare, and we do these things for security purposes, denial of, DDoS attacks and various web security tools could be blocking. So you just want to check on that. So that you want to do that. You want to, again, I talked about chunkability. So if you understand chunkability is these information chunks. The thing you want to understand about a query is that LLMs have a budget for every query that they do. And the different amounts of money that we pay to have our service gives us more credits, so to speak, to play with. Okay. So, and the reason we have these budgets is because if 10 people decide to ask a really deep question all at once, we don't want the lights to dim around all the data centers in the world as the AI tries to answer, what is the meaning of life, right? I mean, that could be a pretty big query, and we know that we're not going to get the whole thing. It'll just say, okay, well, this is just enough of an answer for now. Let's see how it goes after that, right? Okay, cool. So there's a budget. And the number of chunks that can be retrieved in that budget is a certain number. And the thing, and that window of how big a chunk is changing as AIs become more efficient. But the point is that's critical here that I'm trying to get to is you want to be able to give clues to the AI as to where the chunk begins and ends, delimited, right? And so our headings and our subheadings are a way of delimiting chunks. So if I had a long essay that was the meaning of life, and that was the only title on it, and the rest was just blocks of copy, that's a massive chunk. I could say subheading, 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 sub-subheading, sub-subheading, and those create smaller chunks. Tables. Table markup is important. We have pricing tables, we have comparison tables, we have feature tables, we have adoption timelines, we have all sorts of tables. They're very useful. They're very cool. Make sure that the headings of the table are specific, not like date and details, which could be headings for anything. Make it more detailed so that there's something to grab onto for an AI to say, that's answering a question. Okay.
Interesting.
Go back into the headings again. Sometimes we have a lot of brand personality rather than brand information. We might have headings that are saying excite, energize, employ, something else beginning with E, which tells me nothing about what's there. It doesn't help me.
It gives a little more detail. Yeah.
Right. Give me a heading that says, here's how we can excite your customers, or nothing maybe not even good. Here's how brand something something does something something. Give me something that is contextually relevant and helps a buyer understand. We're not trying to worry about AIs. If a buyer doesn't understand what the heading means, they're not going to understand what the heading means when it's transliterated into a chunk that turns into something that appears in an AI.
Yep.
So it's got to be obvious at the first stage so that it can survive to all through the process. And if it isn't good enough, it's not going to win those chunk wars.
Man, I love the chunking idea. I love that. Those are some great tips. Very tactical, David. I think people can kind of take away from them. I mean, as we look to wrap here a little bit, if people want to get some resources, yourself or others to start that learning journey, that's where you started. Where would you guide them to go to kind of really start to learn that some of these things that you're talking about?
Sure. I have put together the hashtag on LinkedIn, David K AI, where I put together all of my different posts to do with AI. Search for that in LinkedIn and you'll find a whole bunch of posts, right?
I love
that.
Okay.
Learn.
Okay.
The thing that you want to try and sort through in your own mind is who on you, if you're a marketing person listening to this, you're a go-to-market person, you're going to ask yourself, who on my team do I give this to? And that might be the wrong question. The right question might be, what are all the different pieces and how do all the different team members flow into this?
Yeah.
Because why? Because the internet is an information service.
Yep.
And we in marketing and sales are pumping out information. Some of it's on our website, some of it's here, some of it's there, some of it's on our partner sites, right?
Yep.
Some of it's in images, some of it's in YouTube, some of it's in podcasts like this one. How are we enabling this podcast to be found by AI, for example? Because AI at this point can't click on things and listen to them fast forward, right? So for example, I'm the podcast person. How am I making this podcast findable? I'm taking these. I'm going to take this, and you're going to turn it into YouTube clips, maybe, right? Yeah. How are we going to make each clip findable and appropriately findable to answer the questions that will this podcast and clip helps answer? So you've got to think ahead. What is the query that someone would want to have to get this information? Which is kind of like the reverse engineer RFP. What is the reverse engineer RFP for this podcast a little bit?
Yeah, that's such a great idea because it really breaks it down. It makes you actually describe it in a way. And these they're not picking up video right now or audio, so you do have to textify it, right?
You have to textify it. And the other thing to remember is we've got these chunk windows. Mm-hmm. So you want to put the good stuff at the top. Put the good stuff at the top. Yeah. For example, a practical example, everyone's got an About Us page on our website. And it used to be, the About Us page used to be what we did and how we did it and where we are and stuff like that. And then it turned into, the fashion was our origin story. Yeah. One day someone fell out of a tree, decided it was not a good thing, it's inspiring to them, they wanted to do a thing. And then here's our partners, here's our investors, all these people. It's like, okay, yeah, it's about us. Put a part that's going to be useful to the questions that buyers have, which might be kind of the old-fashioned, here's what we do it for, here's who we help, here's how we help. Make that be kind of like your good old-fashioned boilerplate at the top, because that answers the main question rather than the other questions, right? So,
I like it. Wow, David, that's a ton of information. I mean, are you guys seeing this? This guy is fully chock-loaded. Unfortunately, David, we've got to kind of wrap up. It seems like you've got enough information. We could go all day along here, but we probably can't. So, David, if somebody, let's wrap here, but if someone wants to dive deeper, it sounds like you got the hashtag. LinkedIn's probably a good way to reach out. Anything else they should check out before we wrap here?
Seer International. Seer is a good source.
Okay.
They're a good vendor for a long time. Many of the SEO-oriented publications are good information sources. While I said SEO is not the end-all and be-all, they are critical and important.
Yeah.
The Ahrefs, everyone's putting out information to try and talk about what this is, right? Yeah. Just be careful of some of the things that you see that are measuring sources. Those sources are based on time windows and based on, so the thing about Reddit, the thing about Wikipedia, be very careful about that. Be careful. Think about this. If you are listening to this, you're probably in B2B. You're not a fisherman in the South China Sea. You're not an Eskimo. You're not a coffee bean hunter in Brazil. And yet all of those people are doing Google searches. So a lot of the results that you see in these tools are not necessarily specific to your ICP and your kind of buyer. They are just general. And so when you see numbers saying that hardly anyone's doing certain things in AI tools, but they're doing mostly things in Google, consider your audience just to kind of calibrate.
So you can actually calibrate it in a way that makes sense.
So just keep your head on.
Okay. Well, David, again, really appreciate the hat. We love the hat, man. We probably need to get one of those, but appreciate you taking the time. Great and important topic, figuring out generative engine optimization. That's the geo word you kept referring to there. So again, David, appreciate your time. For the audience, have a fantastic rest of your day.